Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Join with me are my co-hosts, Joseph.
Yellow.
And Jehu.
Caw. Wow.
That's
this
an
is very appropriate.
That was the caca for this movie.
I love it.
Either this movie or anything that Christopher Nolan's directed, scored by Hans Zimmer in the last decade, that has a lot of those low brassy.
Yeah.
We're talking Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yep. Finally.
Finally. I kind of wanted to talk about this for a second before we get into it. Isn't it so weird? Isn't it just weird this thing exists?
Well, I did actually want to do this in case there's a single human being that will ever listen to this podcast that has no idea what the fuck this is about. I do feel like we should give a mild amount of context to what this is all about. So if you're thinking Justice League, a movie with like Superman and Batman and stuff, that came out a few years ago, didn't it? Yes. It was originally helmed by Zack Snyder, who had directed Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, the two preceding films in the series. And Zack Snyder was directing Justice League and had filmed in unclear amount. Percentages vary from like 60 to 80%. And in the midst of production suffered a family tragedy and immediately pulled out from the movie. And Joss Whedon stepped in to finish the film and reshot again. Very varying numbers are out there, between like 10 and 40% of the film. I think, we've talked about it on this podcast before, even though I was surprised to find out we hadn't done a whole episode on Justice League before. I think it's a surprisingly cohesive movie for a two-director movie of such varying styles, but the internet super disagreed. And so the Zack Snyder devoted have been screaming their lungs out on Twitter and all social media that haven't banned them for years now to release the Snyder Cut, which to them just meant the scenes that Snyder had already filmed in the order that he would have put them in. And HBO Max and Warner Brothers, in an effort to create new content for their platform, I guess acquiesced to the worst part of the internet and gave Zack Snyder some money to reshoot, re-edit, and put together the Justice League that he wanted in his heart, which turned out to be 4 hours long.
And I think, first of all, just a good indicator of where this is going. There were approximately 15 times that you were just speaking that I wanted to interrupt you. So this one's going to be great. So just the percentages you brought up after watching both of them, without getting into any of the content or opinions yet, what are your thoughts on those percentages? Because here's what I think at this point. I'm after watching this, I'm kind of believing Zack Snyder. He had filmed like 100% of this movie.
It feels like between 80 and 90% of this movie.
He filmed 100% of two movies. What are you guys talking about?
Okay, touche.
and then the Joss Whedon thing, I feel like he probably did reshoot about 40% of this, which is weird because they were just the same scenes, but a little more bloated and disinterested.
Yeah, this movie, I don't remember exactly how long the theatrical cut of Justice League clocks in at. I want to say
between 2 and 2:30, I believe.
I think it's shorter than that.
I think it's shorter than that.
Do you think it is?
I think it's just at 2. Yeah, I think that's right. It's weird that while so much of this looks familiar, it's completely different. I feel like Joss Whedon. I think Joss Whedon is probably. I think you're right, Jehu. I would even go maybe 60% of that theatrical cut is different. And I've seen things where he just took scenes, like the characters in scenes, and digitally moved them around into different places to where they didn't have to reshoot it, but made the scene look completely different.
Right.
So it's. I don't know. He made weird choices with that, but I'm kind of with you, Joseph, where I think it's kind of better than people give it credit for the situation that it was in.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's an entirely watchable movie.
I just think after watching this, that definitely a whole lot of the scenes that were reshot were not reshot for quality purposes. They were just reshot for, well, I've got to reshot a certain percentage of this movie for me to put my name on it.
If we're right, and 80% or more of this movie was already shot as is, before this whole new movement.
Right.
I understand that Hollywood is a money machine, and it doesn't really care about the specifics of its money. But if I knew that my director had shot 4 hours worth of content, and I knew that he wasn't going to be able to make more than a 2 hour and 30-minute movie, I'd be pretty fucking mad about that extra, hour and a half that I paid for, that is going to nothing.
Yeah, that's one of the. I mean, I don't know if we want to just start talking about the movie, but that's one of the things that makes it really hard to talk about, is because this would not be released in theaters.
No way.
It's really hard to judge this as a movie, because this is not something we would have ever seen in any other circumstance. This is not the movie Zack Snyder would have finished and we would have seen November 3 years ago.
I mean, this is definitely the third cut of this movie. If there was an original unfinished Snyder cut, and then there was the Joss Whedon cut, obviously this is a different cut than either of those, because he's filmed new stuff for it.
And he also just got to keep all the stuff that he wouldn't have gotten to keep if this was going to a theater.
Right? Yeah, because there's no way they were going to release a 4-hour superhero action movie.
Yeah, so I guess before we get into any specific, let's just do general reactions, just general reaction to the quote unquote 4-hour movie in 7 parts.
I can start.
Sure.
I feel like I have a weird relationship with Zack Snyder. I can appreciate his work, but I also recognize his flaws. I did not want this. I did not need this. I did not fight for this. Having said that, I thought it was okay. I had a better time with this 4 hours than I did with the 3.5 that are The Irishman.
You did that just to piss off Ian, and I know
I did. That was solely for Ian. He's not here, so he can't rebuttal, but he'll still get the diss. But I think it's better than the theatrical cut. I think Steppenwolf is much better in this movie. Ben Affleck didn't look like he entirely hated his life like he does in the theatrical cut of Justice League. Overall, I would say this is better than Transformers. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it.
You said that about Ben Affleck, and I really think that when I was talking about, I think a whole lot of this got reshot just to get Josh Whedon's name on it. I think Ben Affleck was particularly the person who was feeling that the most. He was very much
I would say his midsection was the one feeling it the most, but yes.
But I mean, just even in those interviews afterwards and stuff, he was like, I just filmed this movie twice so a different guy could have his fucking name on it. You know? I think he was the one most. Everyone else was trying to make it work. He was like, "Fuck it, man. I'm not at the beginning of my career. I'm 2/3 through it. I don't need this shit." For me, going into this, I rewatched the 2 Zack Snyder DC movies that I've been pretty brutal on, and for Man of Steel, I totally stand by what I've always said. It's an okay movie by a guy who just does not have an interest in Superman. He does not care about that character. He doesn't want to make a character about that a movie about that character. He wants to make a movie about a character in his head that I think is called Muscle Jesus. And Muscle Jesus is not really very Jesus-y. He's more like if Jesus was really into Stone Temple Pilots, and but I think that's just what he wants, and that's what he made with that movie, and it's an okay movie. But if you're someone who loves Superman, then it was kind of a drag. Before I rewatched Batman versus Superman, I did something very strange, which was have a conversation with a friend of mine who really liked that movie and whose intelligence I respect. That's a
there's got to be only one of those on the planet.
Right, that's a very small Venn diagram. But it's my friend Austin, and he's unequivocally smarter than me. So, the fact that he's always really stood behind that movie has always interested me. And I talked to him about it, and then I watched it. And, here's what I'll say has changed about my opinion of that time. In the previous time we talked about that movie on this this podcast, I've said that it doesn't even have value as a bad movie because it's not even fun to dislike. And this time I at least had fun. Like, I won't get into it, but when I watched that movie again, I was like, man, you know what? I could talk another hour about things that I think are weird about this movie. So that must be like, has to have some value to it. And, man, visually, it's a cool movie. It's not the visuals I would want, but they're fun to look at. Their action's kind of bonkers. I'm still not ready to give it better than Transformers. But what I'm saying is, going into this, I was kind of primed to give it a break. And I think for the most part, I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know if good is the right word, but it, at the very least, is engaging. I wasn't bored by staring at this thing for 4 hours.
Wait, was that your review of Justice League? I thought that was your review of Batman versus Superman.
I switched in there. What I'm saying is, because of that viewing of Batman versus Superman, I was kind of primed to like this. Like I was kind of primed to give this more of a chance because in text the week before this, I think I'd said to you guys, I can't wait to fucking hate this movie, and that's really where I was. But I don't know. I will talk a whole lot about dumb shit in this movie, but overall, I didn't hate the experience of sitting through 4 hours of this.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, how many sittings did it take each person? It took me 3.
Took me 2.
It took me 2 as well.
Okay, fair enough.
I do have some follow-up things to Hertz.
Okay.
That I just want to knock out real fast. Number one, on your Superman comment, totally agree. Ian texted me and was like, man, that guy hates Superman. And it reminds me, I think Zack Snyder only has ever read Frank Miller comics. Right. The only thing he likes about Superman is the threat of Superman. Like, what would it be if this all-powerful dude actually was here? Well, it would be scary. And while I can see the appeal of that, that's just such a dark 80s Batman, gritty, the world fucking sucks Reaganism type view of Superman, I think.
Right.
The other thing that I think, to your point, J-Hugh, about hating it, and I've kind of been a proponent of the director's cut of Batman versus Superman. I think it's better than the theatrical version because it actually makes sense. I don't think Zack Snyder can make a 2-hour movie. I think the guy can only make mini-series type thing. He needs time to let scenes breathe, and he wants to add so much that I think the 4 hours actually plays into this film's favor. I don't think it would make sense shorter than it is, oddly enough, because of how much that dude just wants in everything.
Yeah. I mean, that actually leads into kind of my general impression of the movie, in that, I don't know if the word better is the right word for either the director's cut of VVS and the Snyder cut of this one, but I think more cohesive is definitely true. I think that's fairly irrefutable. I just think, because we have more time for it, we get to spend more time, getting the characters, getting the specific motivations for why they're doing, this, that, or the other. And I mean, even the extended fight sequences and things, I think, were a lot more followable. So the way I would probably describe it, because I can't do a 4-hour movie, and I can barely even accept that that's a part of my reality. I would say any 30-minute chunk of this movie is probably better than any 30-minute chunk in the Joss Whedon Justice League, but I'd still probably rather watch the Joss Whedon Justice League than this movie again.
I can totally get what you're saying there. That makes total sense to me.
All right, so do we want to tear it down piece by piece? What do we want to do here?
I mean, I don't think we have enough time to go piece by piece.
First off, well, actually, very, very top of the movie. How about that new WB logo, huh?
It's something.
It sucks shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They paid somebody money for that.
It looks like cutting edge 1998 shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even remember how this one fucking starts comparatively. I mean, it's mostly about the initial invasion bit right? You know, the team is scattered. No, there's not a team. It's just a bunch of individual heroes. We kind of get their origin stories, and there's an incoming threat, you know, that's coming to steal these mother boxes. I enjoyed getting more of the extended flashback sequences when Darkseid first came to Earth and the original mother boxes and all that kind of stuff. Do you guys have anything else on that? I feel like I'm just dominating here.
All I was going to say was that Connie Nielsen kicks ass in those parts. I was glad to see more of the Amazons in general that's in the theatrical cut, because they kind of just get their asses kicked in the theatrical version and it's over. I was glad we got a little more exposition. Though, did you guys find the like weird Greek chant thing anytime Wonder Woman was on screen weird? Or was
that was driving me crazy.
That was my first thing I was going into. So where you guys aren't deaf, you probably don't watch shit with the captions on.
Oh, I watch everything with captions on, bro.
It was listed like something like melancholy Greek melancholy ancient singing. Every time that would come up, and I just thought, man, that's what I really want out of my action superhero movies is melancholy ancient singing.
It just felt like weird, ethnically indistinguishable yodeling.
And the shit there was the Icelandic chicks doing it too. Aquaman, man, that just drove Sarah fucking nuts.
Yeah, look, there were so many specifically Zack Snyder sensibilities that I rolled my eyes at. I give it to the guy. You know what? Like, the dude has a real strong like pin on the finger of what 15-year-old dudes think is fucking cool. Right. So like I can't fault him for that. Like, he gets that. It's just I don't think that shit's cool.
I again, Joseph, it's just you and I here on this island. The score in the theatrical cut of Justice League by Danny Elfman, I fucking like.
I also really like.
I know everyone shits on it. I like it. I like that it uses all the old themes, everything. It plays to my heartstrings. The orchestral
version of the Wonder Woman theme instead of the electric guitar.
Yes. Right.
Yep. It's better, I think, and it doesn't matter.
But this guy was just like, fuck all of it. Yeah. Anything we've ever heard. I think Junkie XL, I think he did the score.
He did, yeah.
No references. He was just, we're starting completely fresh. And I don't really get that. Like, you had Hans Zimmer score like 3 of these films, and you're not going to use any of his themes in it? It was strange.
Right.
I will say in the flashback sequences of the first Darkseid invasion, Darkseid's kind of a bitch in this one, ain't he?
He really doesn't come off as this really great fucking threat. We don't really see that much from him that fucking, that is really like makes him like the end all beat all of villainy.
I mean,
that scene plays out very Thanos-y, in my opinion. Very should have gone for the head.
Right.
Well, I'm not even sure where we are. Are we talking about the recap of Darkseid's invasion back in the before 4 times? The main thing that I really was most taken aback by that is that the QAnon shaman was a big player in that fight. Which, I mean, kind of seems on brand for Zack Snyder.
Heard, if anyone listens to this episode more than 6 months from now, that will be a pointless reference.
But timely right now. I appreciate it.
I was also, like on the note of Zack Snyder's, like, I don't have the fucking hours in a day to talk about like the weird hyper macho bullshit that Zack Snyder pushes on the rest of us. But I love that his whole thing to like make somebody seem more imposing and powerful is they just have like a deeper, grumblier voice. So like fucking Steppenwolf already has like the low, grumbly, like, one step below like a Thanos-y thing, and then to make Darkseid even more intimidating, he's got to have like a fucking subwoofer level, just nothing voice.
Like it's like a record played on the wrong speed.
Yeah, if there's another movie of these where there's like a bigger baddie than Darkseid, it's just gonna be like a buzzing fan blade or something.
Who did the narration in the for this segment in the Whedon part? Was it also Wonder Woman?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Because I feel like it was that's one of the things that was better in the Whedon version, I feel like, is the narration over it and gave it sort of dramatic Lord of the Rings feel, since it was exactly the same thing as from Lord of the Rings. And this did not. I kind of had a hard time following what she was saying.
Yeah.
I think it was her mom. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I think you're right. I think it was her mom.
I also liked in this particular sequence when they do like our standard Lord of the Rings, split it up among the different peoples. You know, the Atlanteans put it in this elaborate guarded chamber. The Amazonians put it in this super elaborate, architecturally nonsensical guarded chamber. And the humans are like, I don't know, put some dirt on it, I guess.
And it was the most successful.
It was, actually. You're right. That's a good point.
That human king guy who I recognized from Game of Thrones, but could not tell you who he played. I did want to ask, I mean, I don't know if we want to really break this down by section, but I kind of thought maybe character by character or something. And to me, the biggest change, and this kind of starts early on, is how important Cyborg is in this movie. Did you guys think that was better or worse than the Whedon one?
One thing that me and Sarah both agreed on by watching it is that Cyborg, the Flash is so improved in this from the Whedon version. And Cyborg is not just improved, he's a thing. There's a reason for him to be in this movie.
It's kind of a Cyborg movie. Like, it's kind of Justice League from his perspective.
Yeah,
totally.
I don't know. I kind of liked him better in the Whedon version, just because the longer his I'm a man and machine, I'm a monster, really grated on me after a while.
Right.
I will say, you know, both aesthetically and because of a lack of, I think, weird messages to put on top of it, I think The Flash would be a great candidate for the next Zack Snyder movie, because I really enjoyed all the you know, that was an actually good use of all his slow motion bullshit.
Yeah, totally.
So I'd be game for that.
Yeah, I thought the Flash was much improved in this versus the Whedon one. Though in Whedon's, I don't think he knew what to do with Cyborg, and the Flash was just there for jokes. But again, the Flash also deserves to be in this movie. Like, there's a reason. Yeah, he has a purpose.
Right.
Again, maybe it's the 4-hour runtime or whatever, but we just establish that everyone here is important, except for maybe Aquaman, besides the box being in Atlantis.
Oh, no. I mean, Batman is the least important of the people. Batman is Captain America in the original Avengers in this movie. He's mostly just there because he has guns and money.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, because he's the only one we've actually established prior to this movie, timeline-wise. Like, if this movie were to come out when it was supposed to, like, he's the one we've probably spent the most amount of time with, not Superman.
For sure. I feel like his role in kind of a Justice League dynamic is kind of pointless. He's definitely not like the power guy. I think the closest to like actually functionally using Batman was when he's like at the very, very end of it in the fight with Darkseid, where he's like running around killing off individual fucking parademons on the inside, and that still sucks. As far as like role within the Justice League, I feel like Aquaman was more Batman as far as like in the discussion, as Aquaman is kind of like the critical devil's advocate portion of like the discussion part, where he's always, you know, kind of imagining the worst case scenario. Whereas in this one, Batman is very much like a blind optimist kind of thing. And the other thing that Batman's good for is being a genius, but he's not particularly smart in this. And I feel like mostly Cyborg can replace him for any useful tech or know-how things that he would contribute to the party.
First of all, that's a good call. In the second half, Aquaman does do the Batman parts. He is the guy who's like, maybe doing this isn't a good idea.
Right.
I hadn't really thought of that before now, but that's true. I will say that I don't agree with you that Batman's the least important in here, but I will say that he doesn't do the Batman part of a League story, which is he's the most clever one.
Right.
And he figures out some sort of twist that no one else can. But I think that's mostly comes from the fact that, you know, Zack Snyder's not clever. So how is he going to write clever?
Yeah, the other thing that was gross in this movie to me was just the general throwing around money that was going on. Like, when they really leaned into, like, Batman's rich. Like, he goes to that poor-ass fishing town and is like, oh, you won't tell me what I want to know? He doesn't come up with a clever way to, like, talk to them, or like it's not like negotiating. It goes like, how about $1,000? How about $2,000? How about $10,000? How much money can I give you, one person in this tiny fishing town that's poor, to get the information I want so I can leave?
Be fair. What he was trying to pay them to do is to let him talk to the person he was talking to, and he knew. Oh no,
he was talking for sure. It's still like it feels like such a dickish rich guy thing.
Yeah, also, I mean, this is dumb on many levels.
This is absolutely true in the Joss Whedon version too. But the fact that, you know, supposedly he's been spending this whole time since Superman died, like thinking about Superman and his impact on the world and blah blah blah. I gotta realize his ideal that we couldn't achieve when he was alive, and that motherfucker let his mom go fucking homeless. When he literally the richest,
that was weird.
Buy
to
the
me.
Fucking bank that was foreclosing on the house.
Well before, yeah, that was strange. And I thought I guess I just misremembered. I was thinking BVS versus Justice League, but I was like, I thought Batman fixed this already. But I apparently I was just out of order.
Also for no reason, Cyborg can also change the wealth of the world. And that's never fucking expounded on. They didn't have to add that to his power set, but they did. And now it's his fault that we're not all fucking rich. God, this is going to go on forever, guys. I know it. I'm sorry.
That was just us talking about Cyborg. Do we want to move on to the next character?
Sure.
Who's next?
I mean, we kind of hit Flash and Batman and Aquaman, so I think we're really down to Wonder Woman and Superman.
Well, if that was Aquaman, I have one more thing to say about Aquaman, and that I was watching this with Sarah, and like I said, I was pretty primed to try to like it, and Sarah was trying to be a good sport, but the exact moment she was done with this movie was when Aquaman, defender of the seven seas, smashes a bottle and throws it into the ocean. Like, she was just out of her mind pissed. And like for the other 3 hours after that, even when something was going right, she would be like, okay, but Aquaman threw a bottle into the ocean. And she was like looking up other people on the internet who said it was stupid. Like it really offended her. But also in the second half, she kind of liked him when he turned into what you were talking about, like the Batman guy who was saying, hey, this might be stupid. She was sort of on board with him at that point.
He has more dialogue in this besides like, yeah, hey man.
Right, totally.
Which is actually something that I did enjoy about having a lot more time in general with all the characters, is because part of the fun of like a team thing is like getting to have the different interactions between the like individual members of the team. And it's not something that we didn't really have in Justice League, but in this one we do a pretty good job. I don't know if we get every single combination, but we get little one-on-one moments with a bunch of like Flash and Cyborg and Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman and all these kind of things. And those are good like little character moments that I think make me care more about like them and them as a team. And I really enjoyed that.
Having said all that, against everything you guys have said, I'm going to move on to the next one. Wonder Woman is the one I think benefits the least from this.
Probably true.
Like I said, I enjoyed the Amazonian bits. I'm glad we got more of those. I agree with you, Joseph. That building makes no fucking sense. But I was like, they're like, there's all these things and there's a tunnel and there's doors, but there's a giant fucking hole in the roof. But I don't think I don't remember there being anything extra to her besides the arrow bit, I believe.
Right.
And, nothing is enhanced by Zack Snyder's vision for Wonder Woman, I would say, in this movie.
I would agree with that. I think the only thing that I think is better is similar to what I was just talking about. I think because she gets more moments of dialogue that aren't specifically like plot driven, I feel like I still am way on the fence about whether I like Gal Gadot as an actress in general. Because sometimes I feel like she's like, very charismatic and like effortlessly charming on screen. And sometimes I feel like she's like, just reading lines at a middle school play production or something. But I feel like in the smaller character moments, I enjoyed her more. She was more of her charismatic self. So I found myself liking her more in this movie.
I definitely think I'm going to agree with Christian on this. I think she was done better by the Whedon cut. I think that might have been just because that movie was just a big hit right before this, the Wonder Woman movie. And they were like, make sure, she pops. And this was not necessarily that. Also, I think that she might have gotten better as an actress in the interim between these and the reshoots. She might be the only person who benefited from the reshoots. Like she was a little more practiced at that point. I'm still not saying she was great. She was better.
I think her opening intro, that fight scene against Bruce Bolton, I think it's extended in this. Maybe I might be wrong.
Yeah,
but it's fucking cool.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the like crawling on the ground, blocking things with the bracelets, but it's fine.
Disagree. I enjoyed all of it.
Fair enough.
I think I wish there was a way we could have captions to the podcast for whenever you say it's fine, there could be a caption at the bottom that says not fine. Right.
All right, what else we want to get to?
Well, then I think that just leaves Superman.
Yeah, Superman I think is definitely done more dirty in this than he is in the Whedon cut.
100%. Because again, this guy just doesn't like Superman.
Yeah.
He doesn't enjoy this character.
I think Christian nailed it on the head. From the beginning, is he's mostly just a menacing presence all the time. Even when he's not like against the good guys, he's mostly just, frighteningly powerful, and that's pretty much all he is.
Well, I would say, another situation like this, the Superman 2 versus the Donner cut. The Donner cut is infinitely better than Superman 2, but it's hard for me to disregard Superman 2 because the best scene in the fucking movie is changed in a worse way in the Donner cut. And I feel like this was the same way. Like when Superman shows up to kick ass in the final battle, that is definitely a thing that Whedon did better.
I mean, just because again, Superman is more fun.
Right.
He's kicking ass and whatnot, but he's also cracking a smile and a few jokes, and he's a likable dude.
I was just gonna say that, kind of to y'all's point. I think Snyder, I think he gets like the look and stuff. Like he makes Superman look cool and look powerful and stuff like that. But the Whedon cut, even with the bad lip, has much more charm for the character.
Yeah.
There's just that hopeful optimism, kind of, and even at the end, like we get the shirt pull scene, that is better in the Whedon cut than it is in the Snyder cut. It's That's like Snyder tries to do that thing, and still it comes off as sad and depressing.
Right. Yeah. Also, watching this versus the Whedon cut, though, I really don't know why they reshot as much of Superman shit as they did. Obviously, there was things like the cell phone footage and some of the dialogue towards the end that had to. But like in the fight in the middle, why did they even bother with all that mustache shit? When it was just
cell phone footage, how the movie starts, the Whedon one?
Yes, correct.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. But you know what? Hey, here's one thing I'll give to Whedon. There is plenty of CGI in this movie that's just as bad as that mustache shit. There's a few times where like Steppenwolf just doesn't fit in the panel, if that makes sense. Like he's just not standing right in relation to the world around him and shit. It's like that. It just looks like they hurried through that shit.
Man, speaking of Steppenwolf,
I just think that's a testament that this just wasn't done. As much as people want to say it was done, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of Steppenwolf, Apocalypse is a real middle management situation, huh? That dude's got to check in with his supervisor pretty fucking often.
That's true.
I really expected Assad to come back at the end of it. Like, make sure you fill out your timesheet before you leave at the end of the day.
Right.
Boy, geez.
The only other thing I personally would really want to hit is, what do we think of the nightmare sequences?
At the end?
Yes.
Oh, shit. I don't even want to.
I mean, the thing is, man, that's like, that shit that's Zack Snyder in a nutshell, man. Like, of course, his Joker talks about reach arounds.
I know it. Really, man, that killed me.
But it was like,
he's on screen for 2 minutes and has 2 penis references. I'm like, brah, like, come on.
it's like a fucking 6-year-old who just learned a cuss word but doesn't really know what it means or the context to fit it in. He's like, I'm just going to say reach around. That'll be shocking. But these are adults that did this, you know?
Is it weird that when I watched that scene, I thought to myself, Zack Snyder really does think in a post-apocalyptic world that Batman and Joker would fuck?
Maybe.
Like, I didn't take it as a joke. I thought, this guy really thinks these two would have sex, doesn't he?
Yeah, look, again, I had said earlier that any 30-minute stretch of this movie is better than any 30-minute stretch of the Weed movie. I'm going to exclude the last 10 minutes.
Are you talking about the various endings or this specific ending?
I mean, either one of them. They're both fucking pointless. They're both just like, here's some extra shit.
I mean, this is the most stuff that's admitting that, okay, there never really was a Snyder cut.
Yeah.
Because this shit wasn't there to begin. It's like, you know.
For sure.
But yeah, it was, you know, I don't know. I mean, it was bad, but also it was, I'm trying to think of it. You know, it was engaging, but I think the movie would have been better without it.
Yeah, for sure. Agree.
You know, I mean, it probably put a lot of asses in the seats knowing that, oh man, the figurative seats in this case, that knowing that, oh man, there's going to be a Batman and the Joker scene and it's in the future and it's Mad Maxy and shit. But overall, it was to the detriment of the movie.
100% agreed. I was on board like 80%, like, you know what, this was pretty good. This might be the best thing Zack Snyder made, like DCU wise. And then that happened, and I was like, no, never mind. Yeah. Take it back.
Right. But then it's not as bad as the scene right after it.
I don't know. They're both terrible.
that Martian Manhunter scene is bad.
I mean, I know I made a strong stance against the term fan service on this on this show. But the next time I'm doing that, just remind me of that shit. Because that existed for no other reason than to just placate fans and say, see, I was going to do something different, even though it wasn't something you were going to do.
Right.
At least not that scene.
Yeah, it's real dumb. The whole last 10 minutes is real dumb.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you press stop when the word epilogue comes up, that's good. That's fine.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to throw a bone at, Henry Lennox, and just say, hey, man, you were more important than I said all along.
Right.
Oh, man. I was trying to remember where I knew the actor who played Cyborg's father from, I guess, Silas Stone.
Right.
And it wasn't until he was really badly acting when he was under duress with Steppenwolf, where I was like, oh, yeah, this is the guy that died way too dramatically in Terminator 2.
I was about to say, if you don't fucking say Terminator 2.
he sort of endangers the world in the exact same way in both of these movies.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I got random tidbits of just notes that I had over this movie, like who gave J.K. Simmons that haircut and how long should they be in prison?
Man, you say that, but I thought to myself, God, it sucks we're not going to get more of him as Commissioner Gordon. Sure, but his mustache is so
keep
good.
Keep the hat on.
I just love that he got into super shape for these movies and was in like roughly 2.5 minutes.
Well, to be fair, he was in super shape for Whiplash, so I think it may just be a thing for him.
Yeah, agreed. I think he might just be in shape if he ever has to play that Whiplash character again. Right. I loved as far as the small scenes go, the Cyborg Flash one where Flash is asking if he thought that Diana would be into younger men, and
yeah, that's a funny bit.
Cyborg's like, she's 5,000 years old, Barry. She's all men are younger men. Something like that.
There were some fun quips in this.
There was not so bad.
It definitely is more lighthearted than I anticipated.
Agreed.
It was going to be.
For just weird notes about Superman going. First off, why did Superman go visit Alfred before he went? I guess he had to know where to go. Yeah, but he's also Superman, so theoretically he could very easily know.
He would just fly across the planet in a fraction of a second and know exactly where they are.
He can also see and hear everything.
The black costume was stupid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it looked cool, but it didn't serve a purpose. And it was definitely stupid when it was still there at the end, when he opened his chest and it was still there. Which, by the way, how the fuck is he Clark Kent? Clark Kent's dead.
Yeah.
Like, Superman came back from the grave. Clark Kent did not.
That was one thing that I didn't really appreciate, I guess, is I want to know the motivation other than he just wished he could have also given him a mullet.
Yeah. Right. Gosh, I would have loved this movie so much more if there was a mullet. What if there's a mullet and a mustache?
We can't say mullet too many times because you guys got to remember.
We'll get you riled up.
We fucking know.
Okay.
Also, why not a beard? Like, we've already established in this universe that he can grow facial hair. Why not just leave the fucking mustache in it?
Just add a beard. Instead of take the mustache off, just put a fake beard around it.
Yeah. But anywho, I didn't like the fact, I don't know, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong on this, Hurt, but I don't like the fact that Alfred calls him Master Clark, because master is not like, I'm calling you master because you're my master. It's like an old timey thing you say for like children in a family. So it's like Mr. and Mrs. And if there's a child, they'd be, master, whatever the name is. And so I always thought that was a cute little, like, he's still kind of talking down to Bruce, even though he's a full grown adult because he's known him forever. And he always called him Master Bruce. But it's fucking weird when he calls somebody else master.
Right. Some dude he just met.
Yeah. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that's weird.
That said, immediately after this was, I think I was really surprised this even showed up because I feel like Zack Snyder would generally be against what would be kind of, I think, the dumber powers of Superman. But this was probably the best possible use of freeze breath in a movie. I really enjoyed it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the thing with Zack Snyder. Like, he's really good at making Superman's powers look cool on screen.
Yeah.
It's just the rest he doesn't get.
Well, I mean, my buddy who was talking about Batman versus Superman, his big argument was like, I mean, even if the story stuff doesn't land, he gets the visuals right and making shit look like what a comic book would look like on screen. And I'm definitely on board with that.
I think that's fair.
Speaking of comic book on screen, so we knew the Bat Tank was in this. Did you guys realize that they were actual fucking mutants with like the red band thing on their faces in that scene with Batman?
I didn't see that.
I did not see that, but like, of course there were.
Yes, exactly. Of course. He couldn't help himself.
That's the movie he wanted to make.
Well, yeah, you remember I sent you that link where he was like, I would love to make a Dark Knight Returns movie. And you're like, bro, that's all you fucking made.
I know.
That's the only movie you've made.
And also, man, both you and Nolan have already mined all the cool bits from that movie. Like, they've already all made it onto screen.
It's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
I don't have any other stronger thoughts about this. At least none that won't make me talk for another hour.
Well, what do you guys... Would you like to see more of this if there's any shot on Earth?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go on record and say I would be okay if Zack Snyder made it. Well, hold on. Why the fuck was Ryan Choi or whatever in this movie?
I don't know. Because you know what would have made more sense? To call him, just have him be Asian and call him Ray Palmer. Because maybe somebody who would have known who that was. Most people do not know who Ryan Choi was. He was Adam for like 2 years.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That was very dumb.
Having said that, I would be okay with more. If Zack Snyder made another one, I would be okay with it. But I want him to do it as a miniseries. I think he needs like 5 to 6 hours to get his shit right.
Right. Yeah, I'm going with, at one point I was so opposed to these movies because it was like, man, this is what's keeping me from seeing good movies about these characters that I love. But now I've accepted that's just not going to happen. So yeah, let's make, at least I like the people in these movies and they're kind of bananas and off the wall. And even when they suck, they're fun to make fun of. So man, let's do it. Let's do some more of them.
Yeah. This might be me backtracking. I don't feel like I am, but I probably am. I don't feel like my issue is so much with the Zack Snyder movie itself. Because you know what? This wasn't, I mean, it was 4 hours, but other than it being 4 hours, which is a big discount, it's a it's a watchable movie, if not necessarily a movie that's not specifically for me. It's partly for me, but not specifically for me.
Right.
But part of my issue with the Zack Snyder is the association, the ilk, and the fan base that that is devoted to him, and feeding that community. I am super against.
Right.
But that said, yeah, you know what? I like the general cast of this movie. I didn't hate watching any of this. So yeah, I'd do another one.
You know what's funny about the ilk? Did you guys see the interview with him where he dissed geeks and gamers?
No,
No, but that's sure.
So one of the guys in the interview, it was like a panel of dudes, is from Geeks and Gamers, and Zack Snyder was like, "No, fuck those racists." And so then that guy went back on this Geeks and Gamers channel. Joseph, do you know who Geeks and Gamers are?
nope.
I thought you were just talking about the concept of.
I also
No. It's like a YouTube channel with like a bunch of people, very alt-righty, very much, fuck Ryan Johnson and The Last Jedi.
Right.
Very much, big supporters of the Zack Snyder movement. And this is the weird thing. This is a perfect example. I don't think Zack Snyder is like the people who like him so much.
Right.
They just they think he does. And so they're because that kind of shit appeals to them. But so he's on this panel, and someone asked him about, Geek and Gamer support for the Snyder Cut. And he was like, no, fuck those guys. I don't care if they never watch my shit. And one of the guys was on Geeks and Gamers, who proceeded to go back to his channel because Zack Snyder adopted Chinese children. Hold on, Daddy's telling a very sad story. Has Chinese children, and that guy said, I would love to line Chinese kids up and just murder all of them after the last year we've had. Yeah. So
Man, fuck that guy.
To your point, Joseph, I hate that it's encouraged some of the people who support him, but I don't think it's necessarily his fault.
Right. No. Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, those people, I don't think really even understand their own fucking belief system, because very clearly the free market has spoken out against Zack Snyder's superhero movies. like this is very much special interests has made these movies happen.
Yeah.
Last thing I've got on this. Last thing, I have a proposal for, if anyone didn't enjoy this, the ultimate best version of this movie. We've already done 3. Why not do 4? Josh Whedon's Zack Snyder's Justice League. You get Josh Whedon to edit this down, not film any new scenes, just edit it down to 2 hours, and that'd be the best version of this movie.
I'd be so curious if you could turn this into a cohesive 2-hour movie.
Well, you can, because they did. They already did it, just with worse refilmed scenes.
Yeah. But I mean, it's definitely not as cohesive. But they also make dumber decisions that are like intentional digressions from what was already there. So yeah, I don't know. I it's so much shit. I would be impressed. But yeah, I don't have any other thoughts on this besides that after watching this movie, I realized that Amber Heard is definitely not British. I'm 100% confident.
I feel like
that was why
Johnny
did she have an accent in this movie?
I feel like her and Johnny Depp should both be canceled. They both seem like awful people.
They do.
Really shitty stuff.
Maybe they should just remarry and stay together, and then we blast them off to the moon or something.
Right.
Anyway, that's Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yay.
Not as bad as I expected it to be. Both the movie and our discussion of it.
Right.
So are we going to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Because
I think we should hold off on that.
Okay.
Is that all right? I thought we might do that next week.
Okay, actually, that's fine. Yeah, let's wait and do both, because this one was very, characterization heavy and not very superhero heavy. So
yeah,
I think letting another episode get under the belt could be good.
But yeah, I look forward to that. We Falcon and the Winter Soldier first episode came out on Friday. I think the second episode comes out this Friday. It's on Netflix. It's a 6-part series.
Yep.
Check it out. We're going to talk about it next week. But what else have we been watching?
The only thing I have to talk, I did rewatch Aquaman this week. And that movie is cheesy as all get out, but it looks really good. The only other thing that I want to talk about is I finally started watching what was CBS All Access, which is now Paramount Plus, some of the Star Trek shows. However, I started with one, J.U. I don't know that you've watched yet. Maybe you have. The dumbest of them all, I'm betting. Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh, right on. No, been meaning to watch that, though. It seems like it's fun.
Yeah, so it's a parody, essentially, of Star Trek. I mean, just at large, but takes place kind of in the next generation era of things. Q pops up, Riker pops up. Obviously, they're actors, Jonathan Frakes and what's his face who plays Q. It's pretty funny. I think you kind of have to be into Star Trek for it to really play. But it's dumb. Like I would put it on as an equivalent of like Family Guy, and not like early Family Guy, like Family Guy 3 seasons after it came back, kind of Family Guy. It's not terrible, but it's not like that high quality humor animation like of Rick and Morty we're getting. Still, it's only 10 episodes. They're 20 minutes long. You can power through it in like a couple of days, or a day. I want to say better than Transformers. If they come up with a second season, I would watch it. It's got Jack Quaid in it, which I guess that dude is in everything now since he was in The Boys. But
right on.
That's it. Oh, I did want to say there's a really funny bit. This is my selling point. The first episode is that there's a virus on the ship that comes, an alien virus from a planet. And unlike in Star Trek The Next Generation, where it just makes everybody horny and sexy, in this one it makes them into murder zombies, which feels more realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hurt?
Since we're on the subject of something that came on HBO Max, I don't know if it just got added, but I just noticed it that Superman the Animated Series is on there.
Yeah, it sure did. And pretty recently.
I'm not always super excited when things from that era get put into high def. I think specifically with Batman the Animated Series, some of the earlier episodes of it really shows off some wonky things in the animation that you wouldn't have seen in regular def. So I wasn't like super into seeing this, but I gave it a try, and man, it looks fucking great. High def really works for this. I've always been a big proponent of Superman the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series is more iconic because it was more groundbreaking and stuff like that. But I really think Superman the Animated Series had a bigger hill to climb, which was finding what's cool about Superman's villains, and I think it really did a good job of it. They have the exact right level for Superman's power level, in that, he can fly, he's super strong, he's invulnerable, but things can still hurt him. If you throw a grenade at him, it's going to knock him around. I'm probably going to talk about all these shows a lot in the next coming weeks, because I'm kind of just watching all of the Timverse shows a lot. But since we just got done talking about Zack Snyder, I would recommend the 3-part World Finest episode where Batman and Superman of this universe first meet. It's probably it's the best adaptation of a Superman Batman meeting ever. It's awesome. It's even though it's 3 episodes where they're animated shows, it really, without commercials, it clocks in at about an hour, so you can tear through it either. Watch those 3 episodes, and that's a good barometer of how cool this show is. Better than Transformers.
I want to say 2 things about that. One, you sold me on Superman the Animated Series years ago, because
really?
I never really watched it when it came out. But I remember you saying a similar thing. Is like, that Batman the Animated Series is more, iconic and more groundbreaking, and may have like individually better episodes, but Superman the Animated Series is just solid from start to finish. And you're dead right. There's not a bad episode of that series, I don't think.
Oh, right on. Cool. It's nice to know I was listened to.
Yeah. And the other thing, and this is a minor spoiler for the exact same thing you're pitching, but one of my favorite moments, both in story choice and animation choice, is in the first meeting of Batman Superman in that sequence. Superman confronts Batman, and Batman knows who Superman is, and the first thing that Batman tries to do is throw him. And there's a great third of a second shot of Superman being like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" It's phenomenal. I love everything about that. It's a great recommendation.
I agree totally.
I don't have anything. I didn't watch a goddamn thing this week. The only thing that I was gonna plug, in case anybody out here has a PS4 and doesn't already know that it exists, sometime at the beginning of this whole pandemic thing, PlayStation released a couple of games I think, it was like the Uncharted series and a few other ones for free to play, no strings attached, that you can just download and have forever. And that was all I had heard about it for a long time, but they came back and did the same thing again this year. So they released Ratchet and Clank and like 8 other kind of indie games. And I think they're releasing Horizon Zero Dawn, which is shooting robot dinosaurs with a bow and arrow. And it's pretty fun. And like a week for free. So if you got a PS4, fucking download it, because why not?
I appreciate that tip.
Yeah.
Right on.
But yeah, that's my public service announcement. So next week, I think we're going to do Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's going to be the first third of a 6-part series, but it'll let you know if we'll just talk about it. Fuck it, you guys are going to watch it anyway. But thank you guys for listening. If you guys had any other thoughts on the Zack Snyder Justice League or the Snyderverse or fucking literally anything that we talk about, give us your treatise on toxic masculinity, or alternatively your treatise on soft bitch boys like us. And we'll may or may not read it on air. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us at realphonies@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at realphonies, and on Instagram, real_phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys later.
Later.